El futuro tiene nada más que la confrontación.
Hey, welcome to You Don't Even Like This Show. I'm your host, Adam Todd Brown. I used to host a podcast called Unpopular Opinion, and that podcast was this podcast. But then everyone else in the world decided they liked the name Unpopular Opinion a lot too, so we changed the name to You Don't Even Like This Show. Each week, me and a couple of guests selected from a pool of the absolute sharpest minds the LA entertainment scene has to offer use this here space to talk about whatever the hell we want. News, pop culture, politics, information, you name it, we talk about it. And sometimes my co-host Jeff May is here too. It's a blast. You're gonna love it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to You Don't Even Like This Show, a podcast about news, sports, baked goods, violence, whatever we want to talk about. I'm your host, Adam Todd Brown. Joining me as co-host, my favorite co-host of all, no co-host, but I do have a couple of guests. Case in point, my co-host on a different podcast, WNBA, Logan Trent is here. How's it going?
Not bad. How are you?
Oh, I am fantastic. Just like everyone else is.
Yeah, there's nothing to complain about. You know, good times.
Yeah, shit's great. Also joining us, comedian Dave Waite. That shit rhymed right there. Shit's great. Comedian Dave Waite.
I loved it. I love a rhyme.
Yeah.
It's hard not. It'll tickle you.
Yeah. We're mostly wordplay on this podcast these days.
Okay. You better get Mike Kaplan on here. I think he's the king of wordplay. You know, Mike Kaplan?
I don't know Mike Kaplan. I know Kevin Anderson. He's the poor man's Mike Kaplan, probably.
Okay. Mike Kaplan is a big wordplay guy.
So's Kevin. So we're doing a local news roundup episode this week. That is when I go through just hundreds and hundreds of headlines from local news outlets around the country and try to find stories that aren't getting the national attention they deserve. Like this first one about Boston sports fans being aggressively Boston sports fans. I mean, really just one guy, but still, shut the fuck up, one guy. Here's what happened. Red Sox manager Alex Cora recently caught a bunch of flack from a local sports radio show, Felger and the Maz, after one of the hosts took exception to Cora missing a game to attend his daughter's college graduation. Oh man, here's the quote. "It's just the tone you set and the example you set for the team, kid. It's not like they need him there to make the pitching change or lay down the bunt. It's the leadership and optics of the whole thing. It's a very easy chance for him to say, nothing's more important than tonight's game. He just does it by example. Nothing's more important than this game." End quote. Dude, shut the fuck up.
I think he's confused because usually Boston fathers only see their daughters every other weekend. So the idea of doing that beyond court mandated appearances is foreign.
He didn't coach to go see his daughter's graduation. That's what we're talking about here, right?
Yep. Missed one game.
Also, a lot of Red Sox fans are unfamiliar with their children graduating.
Oh, man. You want to go to war with the whole city of Boston, I see. Yeah, I mean, these sports guys, they always got to have a take. I mean, isn't...
We're giving this guy exactly what he wants right now.
Yeah.
But still. Yeah, what's especially crazy about this to me, we're talking about a guy who missed... Didn't Alex Cora miss an entire season because he was suspended when he first got signed as the Red Sox manager?
Yeah, because he was a cheater with the rest of the fucking Houston Astros. You know, the whole hunk of metal thing.
Yeah, at least he's a good dad. Shit. Yeah, I like that this guy, there's no moral outrage on this guy's part over that shit. It's just, oh, you missed a game to go to your daughter's graduation? What a dick.
I mean, as soon as a quote opens up with something about leadership, my eyes can't roll farther back in my head. You know, I don't...
Yeah.
These guys that are just adrift without leaders. I mean, what a bunch of fucking bitches. Figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, he does have a point, though. Like, you don't get to be Felger and the Maz by taking days off. The Maz shows up 7 days a week, baby.
Goddamn right. That's why they call him the Maz. Makes no sense. No sense at all.
They're doing boner commercials every other break. I mean, they need to chillax.
Also, the Red Sox are in second place in the American League East, and we're talking about baseball. So there's about 625 games left in the season for them to close that gap with the Yankees even more. I think Alex Cora can actually take a game off and they'll be fine. And like Dave said, it's not just, oh, these athletes, they're just adrift without leadership. They're playing baseball.
It's May.
All that guy's doing is deciding if that pitcher is too tired to keep going. That's it. That's his whole fucking job. Anyone else, I could do that. The fans could do that. Easy.
It's May. They have 4 more months of baseball left.
Someone could have died at this game and we would not remember it by the end of the season because baseball, way too long.
AI could probably take over managing a baseball team.
Yeah, I could probably steal signals from other teams pretty easily, just at the Alex Cora level. So,
oh, well, yeah, that cheap.
Yeah.
But I think it can manage the team, besides whatever. It wouldn't be able to entertain the guys or keep them from fighting each other. I guess that's probably part of the job of being a manager as well.
It's not football, like.
Depends on what kind of robot you put that thing in. Put that AI in, like a Terminator type thing, set that off in the locker room. That'll stop people from fighting. And yeah, I bet especially with baseball, because baseball is so analytics driven now and like speed off the bat and all this crazy shit. I bet a robot, I feel like baseball's moving toward mostly robots at some point. We don't need umpires. We don't need any of that shit. Fuck it. No managers either. Just AI managers. All Allen Iverson. He manages every team.
They should have just put the game on sim in MLB The Show and just followed what the coach in there says.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't be that far off. MLB The Show knows when you should shift, but you can't even do that anymore. So now it's even easier. I think they outlawed the defensive shift in baseball.
Yeah.
So this is a quote from Alex Cora. She wanted me to be with her. It was her day, so this was secondary. We're in this world for a purpose, and for me, it's to raise her and try to do the best we can. Obviously wasn't perfect, but right now it's perfect. Everybody contributed. For her, she was very anxious having the whole family in town. Like we told her, anything for her. To be able to listen to her, how she thought about the whole day, the whole week, and the whole 4-year experience, there was a lot of emotions. It's a day. I wasn't going to miss it the whole day. There's coaches that take 3 days for that. It just so happened we're here in Boston, so I took 1. I like that response. He's basically saying, you're lucky I didn't take more days off, motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's the right way to respond to that shit. And yeah, I sometimes get salty about athletes complaining about the media the way they do. When that happens, I need to remember motherfuckers like this are out there. And that's probably who they're talking about. And Dave Portnoy, obviously. So let's stick with sports for a minute. Did everyone see that video of the fan at the Pittsburgh Pirates game falling out of the bleachers onto the field last month?
I mean, I saw that, when he was like laying there and looked like he was fucking dead and shit,
That sucked.
This article, and listeners will link to it in the show notes also, but the article I linked to in the notes has actual video of him, and it looks like he did it on purpose because he just jumps up and like sort of swan dives over. He like sort of tries to stop himself, but it's pretty futile by that point.
This is going to be a very, very narrow reference, but do you remember the Bears fan that jumped for the field goal against the Packers?
Yes.
It was on like September 11th. That's why we always say never forget, know. It was just, yeah. So for those who haven't seen that clip, go look it up. So there's a Packers-Bears game and the Packers kick a field goal and this dude, the specimen, jumps over the tunnel, catches the ball midair, and then plummets like 15 feet to the ground. And everyone's like, what the fuck? And then he gets up and then displays a mullet ponytail that is 2 feet long, hikes up the ball, and then does an interview with the most Chicago accent about just like, I'm from the north side. I played football. I played offense and defense. I got good hands. And that's what he says. And it's fantastic. This was the opposite of that. That just looked horrific when he fell over.
Yeah. It was really bad. And
Yeah.
he was apparently celebrating a double by the Pirates. And he just jumped up to celebrate, but was like that level of drunk where you stand up too fast and it's like, whoops, now I'm falling forward. And he fell over the fucking railing. I don't know why you want to get that drunk sitting that perilously close to the edge of a precipice like that. Sit a couple rows back if you're going to get that hammered.
I saw when I was a kid, there was a guy who fell in the stands. It was an old guy. I guess he was coming out of the steps, and this was like one of the. It was at the Cincinnati Reds Stadium. It was one of those multi-purpose, the donut stadiums
Yeah.
and we were like in the lower level, and he fell, and all of a sudden there was this big commotion. I looked up, and this old guy was hanging off the railing, and they were like holding this old guy. Somebody grabbed him, and he was like about to fall, and they like pulled him up. And then the next day in the newspaper, it was like the front page story, like because they got all those photographers there, so they had like this old guy hanging perilously. It was wild. I think in the story they just arrested one of the buddies for like giving this guy alcohol, right?
Yeah. It turns out the guy who fell was only 20 years old, and his 21-year-old friend had been buying him beer all night. So at least it's not like, well, the kid who fell was 12 and his 28-year-old dad was plying him with beer. At least they're close in age, but that's got to kind of suck for that 21-year-old. It's like, dude, fucking hold your liquor. What the fuck?
Yeah, this is like on the, I don't want to say positive, but it's much better than when you hear a 21-year-old buying alcohol for minors story could have
Yeah.
turned out, you know?
Yeah.
Like in the end game of like, oh, he was 1 year younger than him and he fell at a baseball game. 21-year-olds buying it for underage people, usually shadier circumstances are involved.
Yeah. Usually a DUI, sexual assault, something like that. It's going to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, they're trying to get rid of their liability. They did a big investigation so they don't have to make sure this guy can sue them. Right?
Yeah.
Also, how much money did this guy have that he bought enough to get him drunk? You see how much beer costs at a fucking ball game?
Well, I'm sure his buddy was probably giving him the money to buy it for him, right?
Yeah. I bet it's not as bad in Pittsburgh. When I was touring once, went to a baseball game in Kansas City, and the baseball stadium prices in Kansas City are like LA regular ass restaurant prices compared to you go to the Crypt here, you're paying like $19 for a fucking hot dog, $21 for a beer. It is insane.
$21 for a beer to throw at a baby.
Yeah, yeah. That happened to me at a Dodgers game. And apparently it happened in Toronto once too. And there's all sorts of news articles about that. But when someone throws a beer at me and Jeff and misses and hits a baby, no one gives a shit. I should have gone to the media. I should have called the NBC News I team. And then
Oh, you should have.
investigate. Have Eric Leonard on the case. That's a local reference for everybody. Yeah, the drunkest I've ever seen anyone at a live event. I tell this story all the time because it's my favorite story in all of history. I was at an Aerosmith concert, I believe, in Sioux City, Iowa. And this guy, he was already hammered. And his friends send him to go get more beer. And he comes back with like 5 beers on a tray and bends down to hand them to his friends and just tips over and spills all of them on the guy in front of him. And that guy was pretty upset. He was pretty upset, but nothing really came of it. His friends send that same dude back to go get more beer to replace the beers he just spilled on the guy in front of him. Can anyone guess what happened when he came back? He went to hand the beers to his friends, tipped over, spilled every one of them on the same fucking guy. And how
Holy
that guy
shit.
did not immediately get up and murder this motherfucker, I, to this day, have no idea. Like, he would have had to drive home just smelling like 10 fucking beers.
Explain that DUI pullover from a cop. Like, no, somebody spilled 10 beers on me, officer. Like,
You got to buy the T-shirt that night. You gotta buy that Aerosmith shirt.
like at that point, I think the guy just assumed he was like on a prank show or something. Like, there's no way this is real.
Yeah. Where's Ashton Kutcher? It was that era.
He was at
Yeah.
Diddy's.
Should have sent them a third time. Fucked up the rule of threes there for comedy.
So the guy who fell, his name was Kavan Markwood. He was 20. And the guy who was buying him the beer was Ethan Kirkwood. So no relation. Those are two different types of tree there. And he's been charged with supplying alcohol to a minor. That's fine. That's a misdemeanor. $1,000 fine for your first conviction. He'll live.
He'll live.
But yeah,
Now, what's the status of the guy that fell off?
he was fucked up real good for a while. He was in intensive care in critical condition, but he has since, I think, at least left intensive care, maybe even left the hospital. But yeah, he's going to survive. So that's good. So let's talk about this next story. This all happened right here in liberal California. I know we all inherently trust cops, and that makes it extra painful for me to say this, but sometimes cops do bad things. Case in point, a former Westminster, California police officer, Nicole Brown, not that one, was...
Which one?
You know.
It was funny because I blanked on that when the story came up, so I Googled her because I wanted to see like if there was photos of her at the thing, and then OJ came was like, "Oh yeah, of course, idiot."
That Nicole Brown. She was recently charged with 15 felonies in relation to workers' compensation fraud. I love every story like this I hear. In her case, in March 2022, she suffered a cut on her forehead while attempting to handcuff an uncooperative suspect. She went to the ER after, and a doctor released her with no restrictions on work the same day, but she did not return to work for more than a year, claiming she'd been diagnosed with severe concussion syndrome. She was placed on total disability leave, claimed she was unable to work due to headaches, dizziness, sensitivity to light and noise. That one's important. Problems processing thoughts and words, and the inability to work on a screen. So no desk duty either. Sorry. Meanwhile, despite all that, especially the sensitivity to light and noise, in April 2023, she was seen dancing and drinking at the Stagecoach Music Festival. And someone, told on her. So much for the blue wall of silence, Nicole. The investigation that ensued revealed that during her disability leave, she'd also went snowboarding at Mammoth Mountain and Big Bear, ran 2 5K races, went to 3 soccer conferences, whatever the fuck that is, visited Disneyland, played golf, and took online courses with a local university, which you very much need a screen for.
Hey, my guy was out there. She was live, laugh, loving, my guy. Come on.
She's fucking living it up. Hell yeah.
Eat, pray, love, dude. She did it. I mean, I mean, this is going to be a wild take, but anything to get somebody not to cop, I'm on board with.
Yeah, and also fleecing the cops. I mean, it's taxpayer money. I guess that's the bad part, but it's also taxpayer money that was going to go to the cops. I'd kind of rather it finance a trip to Stagecoach.
An asshole at Stagecoach? Who would have thought?
Yeah.
I'd like to point out that her doing all of those things was probably better for the public safety of the people who lived in her community by keeping her off the streets and not being a cop. So,
yeah 100%.
People wild out at Stagecoach. I mean, John Elway, he was out there, killed his agent or whatever the hell.
That is where that happened. I forgot about that.
Storyline for Bachelor in Paradise took place at Stagecoach.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a lot of cheating there happening on that.
Yeah, Stagecoach is evil Coachella, which is already kind of evil in its own right. But
it's like Trumpcella, right?
Yeah.
I like how she basically did the Summer of George from like Seinfeld, where he just did the only thing missing is like her challenging like somebody to a hot dog eating contest at Nathan's 4th of July thing and like winning, I don't know, winning an Oscar for writing a great screenplay. Like there's just tons. She did everything. She took full advantage of this free time.
She sure did.
Yeah.
And then 3 days after Stagecoach, she had a Zoom meeting to discuss what duties she could fulfill as a cop. And for that meeting, she sat in a dark room and said she couldn't look at the screen. She also said she was unable to do paperwork and probably couldn't take phone calls either. She has been charged with 9 counts of making fraudulent statements to obtain compensation, 6 counts of making a fraudulent insurance benefit claim, and committing an aggravated white-collar crime over $100,000. She's accused of taking more than $600,000 in compensation between her salary and medical expenses. Even worse, her stepfather is a lawyer who does workers' compensation defense on behalf of insurance companies, and they are implying that he collaborated with her on this and was like, well, here's what you do to make it so you don't have to work. Pretty smart.
If there was workers' comp for comedy, I'd have figured it out by now.
Yeah. And here's the thing. If I told someone, look, I got this condition where I have to just like sit in a dark room and chill forever, but you can't fire me because it's a condition, and they bought it and just kept paying my salary, you know what I'd do? Sit in a dark fucking room all the time. I'd keep that hustle going forever. Fucking forever. I would party at night. I would get sun lamps when no one's going to come around and check. It'd be fine.
I wouldn't want to run a 5K when I'm not getting paid. So why would I do that if I am getting paid? There's so many better options there. Come on now. Also, who snitched on her? Was it another cop? Or was it just some random civilian? Because I don't see that ending well for either of those people. Because like the other cops will be pissed if you ruin something they could have gotten in on. And then if it's a civilian, they'll be pissed because how dare you?
It's probably whatever the insurance that's the workers' comp pays out. They probably have their own investigators, and they're following you around.
I knew a guy once. He wasn't a relative. My aunt just dated him for a long time, so he felt like a relative. And he was getting workman's comp, and on the side was running like a side business where he tore down old barns by hand, but also was getting workers' comp for a back injury. And eventually, like, they just sent a fucking investigator to follow him one day. And they were like, dude, you are tearing down barns by hand. You are not getting workers' comp anymore. And fortunately for him, that's all that happened. They just cut him off. They didn't, like, arrest him and charge him with fraud.
We should have done that in Amish country. They wouldn't have had, like, photographic evidence or anything. So
right.
No one would have caught him there.
So let's talk about another truly shocking abuse of the deep trust we have for law enforcement. In New Orleans, the cops used facial recognition around the clock on more than 200 different live surveillance cameras in the area for 2 years, just randomly looking for suspects. My first thought reading this was, I'm surprised it's not happening more places, and it probably is.
Yeah.
This is just the one that somehow the Washington Post found out about. Probably Jeff Bezos was like, hey, you're not going to believe what they're doing with our facial recognition down in New Orleans. Should report that. It probably violates a city ordinance that was passed in 2022 that required facial recognition only be used by the police to search for specific suspects of violent crimes. And even then, you have to take specific details about the use of those scans to the city council. And none of that shit happened. There were no specifics shared with the city council. They used it on fucking everybody and apparently arrested a bunch of people this way, which that's pretty creepy.
Yeah. So, this is gross. Like, yeah. So one of the big issues is that they didn't tell anybody that they got arrested this way, which they could have easily used in like court proceedings because that's illegal to do. Secondly, like there's a huge concern I'm a brown person, so there's a huge concern with a lot of facial recognition just being faulty when it comes to people of color. It just doesn't work that well. So there's a lot of, in the Washington Post article, they said there was like I don't know if it was related to this, but just in general, there'd been like 8 cases where facial recognition had been used in arrests that were just completely wrong. So now you have a bunch of people who may have been arrested using this who might not be able to even just bring that up in defense of themselves because they just don't know.
Yeah. And that's even scarier to think about when you factor in that inevitable day when we're using facial recognition for deportations and shit. And then when it's faulty in the wrong way and some innocent motherfucker is in El Salvador It's going to be way worse.
That sounds really far-fetched. How could that happen?
Yeah, crazy. I mean, we would recognize the mistake and fix it immediately as the greatest country on earth. God bless.
That's why pencils have erasers.
Yeah. Exactly. This is a quote from Nathan Freed Wessler, an ACLU deputy director. This is the facial recognition technology nightmare scenario that we have been worried about. This is the government giving itself the power to track anyone, for that matter, everyone, as we go about our lives walking around in public. This is the first known case of police in a major city doing this, but it's got to be happening elsewhere.
I feel like New Orleans is a place where everything is kind of sloppy and loose. I mean, I might maybe putting too much on them, but it seems like somebody goofed up, and that's how we know about this.
Yeah.
A lot of bad lieutenants. Port of call, New Orleans.
Did you see that video of the 10 people breaking out of the New Orleans jail down there? That shit was wild.
Yeah, it's so neat. It was a fun watch.
That was like a whole crew. It was like the Great Escape or something. Have they caught any of those guys yet?
They've either caught 4 and 6 are still on the loose, or they've caught 6 and 4 are still on the loose. I feel like that's the last breakdown I saw, though. It was 6-4. Yeah, I like that they wrote "too easy" LOL on the wall.
Another thing that they talk about in the Post article that was really annoying was they talked about, I think it was in San Francisco or something, where it's just they had laws against that, so they just asked cops in the city right next to them to do it for them instead, and then give them the results. Like, man,
perfect. Yeah, I know in LA and probably everywhere now, but I wrote about it back when I was at Cracked. I think we did an episode of Unpopular Opinion about it, but LA is filthy with what are called ALPR cameras, which means automatic license plate reader. If you drive past one of these cameras, it takes a picture of your license plate, and police can access that information to track your movements in your car. And they can track it for historical purposes to find out, all right, well, where does this person go every day? Who do they see? Everywhere in LA has. Are
they going to Stagecoach while they're on workers' comp?
Yeah. Apparently that takes a little bit longer to catch. All right. Let's talk about a real human interest story next. God damn it, San Diego. Would you please get your shit together? Kids are suffering because San Diegans refuse to smoke enough cigarettes.
Oh, well, this is a real tragedy.
It is. It is. And allow me to explain. There is a program in San Diego called First Five, which is meant to assist children in need who are under the age of 5, just like the name implies. Services range from oral health care, housing for young mothers, all sorts of good stuff. Between 2023 and 2024, program screened around 16,000 kids in the San Diego area for developmental and behavioral issues, treated around 8,200. So it's a pretty important program. Unfortunately, it is funded in large part by tobacco taxes, and people just aren't smoking enough anymore. I wonder, is vaping included in this? Are they taxed?
That was my first question.
I don't think so. I think vaping is probably a different tax or some shit.
Because that feels like a real obvious solution. Just shift that tax to vapes and give the kids their money back, because motherfuckers aren't giving up their vapes that easy. Cigarettes, sure, they taste like dirt once you've spent a week with a peach ice vape. Holy shit. I can never go back to a cigarette.
You can't get $7 million out of the copious amount of weed taxes that you guys have.
Yeah, that too, you would think. Yeah, the difference between a vape and a cigarette, that's like going from a milkshake to black coffee. The taste is it's just not the same. The whole experience is different. Dave, do you smoke?
Yeah, I smoke.
Oof. Regular analog ass cigarette still, huh?
Yeah. I mean, there was a period where I vaped, but I didn't care for it much.
Yeah, I could only do the Juul cartridges, because that was a different type of vape liquid. It's called nicotine salt, and it's way stronger. It's more similar to smoking a cigarette as opposed to vape juice. But I felt like I was smoking too much, And there's a commercial out there, like an anti-tobacco commercial, that's like, hey, man, you vape too much, it's going to make you depressed. And you know what? I think it does. Because I eventually just like quit vaping and at first switched to the gum and then I just quit nicotine altogether. But when I quit vaping, my mood got way better, like way, way better. And I was still like drinking too much and not eating that great. The only thing that changed was I wasn't vaping and fucking perked right up. It's crazy. So yeah, they should maybe put that tax in there instead.
Or tax booze.
Yeah.
That might be an easier solution right there.
Or just fund this shit without having to depend on people being, you want people to be healthier. You can't build something around people being unhealthy and use it for something good. I mean, I guess you can, but you can't depend on it. You should just fund this shit.
It seems really weird that a program to help 5-year-olds and stuff is gonna go out of commission because they can't afford the difference of like a San Diego Padre relief pitcher salary. Like,
yeah, that's the United States.
I mean, there's probably a cop on disability on a jet ski right now. It's probably could fund the whole thing.
That's how they catch one of the most notorious police fraud persons, is out of the goodness of their heart, they start donating to the children's salary. Yeah.
It is weird to me that they funded this program through a tax that my understanding was always kind of meant to get people to quit smoking. Like That's why you tax. I mean, I think in San Diego, the tax on cigarettes is like $2.75 a pack, maybe more than that, probably way more than that now. But I always assumed that was meant to get people to quit smoking. So it's weird to fund this kid's program with that in the first place. We're just assuming all these kids' problems would be licked by 2030. We wouldn't need that tobacco revenue anymore. Mm-hmm. Their revenues have gone down by about $7 million since 2020, and that's expected to fall by another $5 million by 2030. This part's weird too. For now, the problem's been fixed by an emergency influx of $4.3 million in cash from the county supervisor's own tobacco settlement fund. What the fuck are they doing with this money? Why did they have it in the first place? What do they need tobacco fund money for?
They're probably buying cyber trucks for the city or some shit.
Yeah, fucking assault rifles for the police.
They're just spending so much cash at Comic-Con each year. That Jack Kirby art's not going to buy itself.
This is a quote from County Supervisor Monica Montgomery Stepp. Parents and caregivers are the agents of change for their children, and this program provides them with the tools needed to enrich their child's development. Healthy Development Services fills a significant gap in our continuum of care for children ages 0 to 5. And she added, smoke them if you got them. That is weird. That's wild to me that they're funding this program with tobacco tax. Just fucking fund it. Just fucking give the kids the money. Take money.
As we're not elected officials or anything, but 3 dumb comedians on a podcast came up with very easy solutions of other things that you could tax within the 30 seconds of hearing this story. It doesn't seem like this should be that hard.
Yeah. Or don't give the county supervisors any tobacco money. Don't give anyone any tobacco money except the kids. Maybe that. Now I really want to know where the rest of the tobacco tax money's going. That's still a lot of money. People be smoking. I think it is still a little cheaper here in California than in a lot of other parts of the country. Dave, what's your experience with cigarette prices around the nation as a traveling comedian?
I mean, I think California's kind of the average now, you know. I mean, Minnesota's crazy. They went nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Even Zins out there, like $15 a can. I'm like, holy shit. They got some really crazy high tax out there in Minnesota, like New York level.
I think South Dakota did also when I last lived there. I think they were taxing the shit out of cigarettes too. Yeah, I have a friend who lived in New York for a long time, and she found out I was coming out to New York, and she was like, will you bring 5-6 cartons of cigarettes with you just so I can sell them to my friends? And I didn't, because I assume that's got to be illegal, right? You can't just backpack up a bunch of cartons of cigarettes and fly off to another state. People are going to ask what. I guess for that small dollar amount, maybe they wouldn't give a shit, but I don't know. So let's talk about this last story. Durango, Colorado. They are under siege by Irwin, a pet kangaroo. We could stop there with information because why would anyone want a pet kangaroo? Why would you want a pet that grows up to be swole and wants to throw hands? I don't get it. Am I wrong here? Would either of you want a pet kangaroo?
No, I mean, I when I've been to the Cincinnati Zoo, I went with, and they had the kangaroo enclosure, and you could get in there, and like they were like tinier kangaroos, so you could get up pretty close to them, and it was cool. I liked it, but I wouldn't want a pet.
I would not want a pet kangaroo because I know that a kangaroo will fuck you up. Did you not watch those like when animals attack things in the 90s on Fox where that kangaroo had the dude in a fucking headlock? Like
Yeah.
I mean, all my kangaroo knowledge comes from the movie Kangaroo Jack with Jerry O'Connell and Anthony Henderson.
like the details here are funny, but I want to mention what a adult kangaroo will do eventually after this thing grows up. But yeah.
Yeah. An adult kangaroo grows to be taller than an average man and weighs about 200 pounds. There's that famous video out there of a kangaroo. I think it was attacking a guy's dog, something like that. And the guy just like squares up and punches the kangaroo in the face. And that works, but also only in that the kangaroo's like, what the fuck? Did I just get punched? Like it doesn't react the way you'd expect an animal that just got punched to react. It's like, oh, are we going to fight? We're going to take this outside? I got a fucking knife in my pouch, bub. Like, why would you want that in your home? Even if it's cute and named Irwin.
Adult kangaroos will grab you with their hands and then use their giant ass feet talons to fucking eviscerate your stomach. Like,
Yeah.
they fight you like a raptor from Jurassic Park, pretty much, except they're furrier and have a Australian accent, I assume, while they're doing it. So,
Or
yeah.
like the ostrich that almost killed Johnny Cash.
Oh,
yeah.
God. Yeah.
That is one of my fave stories ever, especially the part where he followed that up by almost overdosing in the hospital because he was so strung out on pain pills. He hid a bunch under the wound dressing.
Don't remember that and Walk the Line.
Right. Yeah, they got to do a sequel so we can get to the ostrich incident. I think that was 1983. Fucking Walk the Line Part 3. Ostrich.
I think there was a show on Showtime where they had like these stories. It was like a half-hour show, and they had the Johnny Cash ostrich story, like reenactment. It's pretty funny.
I wrote an article at Cracked and included that Johnny Cash story in it. And at the time when I wrote it, I was like, everyone's got to fucking know this story. And they did not. It just turned out I had read the right Johnny Cash book at one point in the very early 2000s. People were like, what the fuck is this? It's such a crazy story. So the first time this young Irwin escaped, he was like very young and stupid. And so the fucking pigs tricked him by just holding up a bag. And he was like, oh, that's my mom's pouch, and just jumped in. And that took care of it. But Irwin's grown now, or grown-er. He's not full grown 15 rounds in a boxing ring grown, but he's older now. So catching him this time was a little bit tougher. And here's the thing. I feel like also tougher going forward, keeping him in. He's just going to get stronger and smarter. So I don't know, Durango, Colorado, you should all move. It's Irwin's town now.
I can't believe you're allowed to buy a kangaroo. I mean, America's so crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of want to feel like I kind of want to blame the city, but at the same time, it feels like if you're writing a bunch of laws, like, I feel like you can't own a kangaroo just feels like one of those things you'd be like, oh, no, people should know that. They wouldn't want to own that. We don't have to write that down on paper. We'll just go on the honor system there. And then someone fucks it up for everybody else.
I am trying to find, yeah, there's a documentary out there. It's from 2011. So hopefully some of this shit has changed. But the documentary is called The Elephant in the Living Room. And it is about people in one small part of Ohio, I think like Dublin, Ohio or something. which I think it's close to Cleveland, something like that. I don't know. Might be making all that up. But it's a very small area. And this guy, his job is just to go out and respond to reports of people owning wild animals. And he's like, it's fucking crazy here. Imagine what it's like where you live, where there's a lot of people. He's like, at any time in the United States, you're probably no more than 3 or 4 miles away from a tiger. It's like, Jesus, that's not. He, at one point, apparently Amish people have these wild animal fairs, sort of like a farmer's market, but you can buy like the most poisonous snake on the planet there. And this guy goes to one of them undercover and buys, like, he buys this one snake just to make sure it doesn't fall into anyone else's hands, because it's like the absolute most poisonous snake on the planet. And you can just roll up to Amish country and buy it in a fucking Tupperware container. There were people buying their kids fucking poisonous snakes. It's like, why?
Ohio is the place where the guy died. He had like one of those exotic. He had a ton of exotic animals. I don't know if it was like one of those bootleg zoos or something, but he died. He killed himself, and before he killed himself, he let all the animals loose.
Asshole.
Let him roam free.
So there was like tigers loose and shit like that. It was crazy.
There's never been a story with exotic pets that ends well. Like, even if you're like a rich person and can, like, fucking Pablo Escobar's hippos are running fucking wild after they got loose. And that's a real story. You can look that up. Yeah. So I think it all comes back to, like, whenever you see those lists where it's like, hey, what type of animal do you think you can take down? And people always overestimate their abilities to, like, fight a wild animal. Like, it's like, oh, I could take a chimp. It's like, no, you could not.
No, you couldn't.
Yeah. Nope should have cleared you of that delusion. Okay. But, like, yeah, this is the same thing. It's like, oh, it's a kangaroo. If it doesn't have boxing gloves on, I could take it no problem, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, no, you want it to have boxing gloves on.
Yeah, that's more protection for you. You do not want to bare knuckle that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. In this documentary, The Elephant in the Living Room, there is a guy who, it's so infuriating. For one, this is his whole justification. He's like, well, a couple years ago, I got in a car accident and I hurt my back really bad and I couldn't work anymore. And it was really hard to move around. So to make myself feel better, I bought 2 baby tigers. And it's like, how do you go from, oh, I'm so injured, I can barely move, to this is a great time to take on the responsibility of 2 wild jungle beasts? And he fucking has these tigers locked in like a 12-foot enclosure. They end up escaping at one point. So then he has to keep them in like a horse trailer. And it's just the saddest fucking thing. And it's like, well, one of you just eat this fucker at some point, please. But no, he died in a car accident. Eventually.
Siegfried and Roy, literal job description was to handle a tiger, and it still ended poorly for one of them. I don't remember which one got attacked on stage, but
I think it was Roy, right?
Probably Roy. Yeah.
Who got attacked? It auto-populated Siegfried or Roy. Roy. Yeah.
Yeah. People just have a grandiose delusion of their ability to handle wild animals. Like, and even with like dogs too, you see this all the time with people who just, you are not the owner who has the strength of character to handle a pit bull or a Rottweiler.
I
yeah
honestly think, and I know we, as 3 staunch libertarians, we don't want the government interfering in our lives, but I honestly feel like there should be some point where, okay, this dog is this big. Well, you have to like pass a test before you can actually own this dog. Like, can you walk it without it dragging you 3 blocks because it saw a squirrel and got excited?
The Marmaduke Law.
But yeah, it should be something like that, because there've been a lot of times where I've seen people walking dogs, like, be it kids, fucking frail old people, and it's like, that dog could kill you right now. What the fuck? Or me. But I don't know. That's never going to happen. So I think that's our episode, right?
Hey, you're the boss.
Unless any of us want to reveal that we've secretly been on workers' comp while attending Stagecoach. She should have bought a kangaroo.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was what was
The-
missing.
The story I referenced was the Zanesville Exotic Animal Massacre. That's what they call it now, because the guy killed himself and he let all these lions, bears, and wolves loose, and then they ended up killing them, because they were like, nobody knows it.
How
What the
long
fuck
did it
did it-
take for them to like
I
hunt
think
these
it was,
animals down?
let's see here.
And how long is it going to take for that movie to
I mean,
Come
yeah, I don't know how long they were loose, but they were out there. I mean, it was a fucking big story. I read a book. I'll plug somebody's book. I think I was in Nebraska, and it was called the Nebraska Zoo, and it was about like this guy starting a chimpanzee, roadside thing where you could see chimpanzees in this 2,000 person town. And of course, they got loose and terrorized the town. But it was a pretty well researched book, Nebraska Zoo. If you want an exotic pet gone wrong story.
kind of do now? Absolutely want to read that. So that's our sode. We did it. Dave, Logan, thank you both so much for doing the pod. What do we have to plug before we get out of here? Please follow me on Blue Sky, adamtoddbrown.bsky.social. I don't have it on my phone anymore. I'm barely on social media, but hey, follow me there if you're going to follow me anywhere. And what else do we got to plug? Dave, what do you got?
Follow me on the Instagram, Dave Waite Comedy, and on Threads, evil ass Threads. And Dave Waite Comedy on there. Just follow me, see what I'm up to.
Logan, what about you?
At the Logan Trent on Twitter, and listen to WNBA with me and Adam Todd Brown. That's you.
That is
Man,
me. Holy shit.
still holding on Twitter, huh? Oh, my
Oh wait, no, did I
goodness.
say Twitter?
Yeah.
You
Oh,
said it,
Jesus
man.
Christ. No, I dropped that like 6 months ago on Blue Sky. Yeah, no, that was a brain fart there. Yeah. Also, don't commit genocide. That's my final one. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's back.
Also, I believe it's called X. Anyways.
Yeah, Logan. All right. Let's get out of here. Dave, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Logan, say goodbye.
bye.
Bye, everybody. We love you.